Hello. So today we're going to be talking about week 1. So I had class this morning, so I'm still dressed up from that, but I'm sure that this video series will be just a progression of me looking more and more haggard. So be prepared for more and more frumpy looking Brittany. So let's ask the questions I talked about last week. How do I feel about this week? So the way I feel about this week is complicated. I knew that it was going to be like a wave crashing at me, but it's been kind of crazy. So basically my classes are all Zoom right now, and then we're going to have some of my classes in person starting next week. So we're going to have some clinical skills starting next week. But overall, the Zoom experience isn't as bad as I thought it would be. The teachers have adapted really well. They use these cool tools where they use an iPad and are drawing things out, and it really helps to facilitate learning. But it's definitely different than what I expected. I do not feel like I am on top of things, so I'm feeling a little bit stressed out about that, but it seems like everybody's kind of in the same boat as me. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with it and hope it gets better going forward. So what went well and what could I have done better? Well, there's a lot of things I could have done better. So what went well? I participated a lot in my classes. I'm kind of an over question asker. I'm always asking a lot of questions in class and always seeking clarification. I'm not really afraid to look silly. There's like no stupid questions in my mind, even though some of them are probably kind of stupid, but I ask them anyways. So I felt really good about my participation and engagement in class. And I had a lot of back knowledge that helped a little bit, but I think it'll help a lot more going forward as we go into more of the pathophysiology parts of my class. But yeah, what could I have done better? I think that I'm not sure I could have done better starting at the beginning, but I know that my study plan was not necessarily what it should have been. So right now, I feel like I have a much better idea of what I should be doing. So I think that I can be better by studying more effectively going forward. What am I learning about? So I am learning about a lot of stuff. So in one of my classes, this is probably my more enjoyable one at the moment, and that's just because I feel a lot more comfortable with it, which is my history taking and physical exam course. So that course is basically talking to a patient and asking them lots of questions about their specific illness and about what brought it on, the precipitating factors, what treatments they've tried already. So these are skills that I find that I'm already doing in the hospital. So maybe it's kind of a cheat right now, because I'm always asking if somebody starts having new pain or new shortness of breath, I ask them things like, well, when did it start? What were you doing when it happened? What have you done to make it better? Is there anything that makes it better? What makes it worse? Things like that. So I feel like I have a lot in my bank to kind of draw on to help me figure that out. But I think it'll be harder going forward to kind of get the bigger picture, because I'm used to my little bubble in the hospital where I'm asking about one specific thing, and I'm going to eventually need to ask about the whole body system, and then also about like what they're doing when they go home, things like that. So that's new. I am also learning about my pharmacology. So pharmacology, we haven't really gotten into it too much, but the level of detail is what I probably should have expected, but I didn't expect. So we have a pharmacist teaching our pharmacology class, which is great. I mean, he's an expert in what he's talking about. But that being said, there's a lot that I don't know. So he talks about it in a lot of detail. And that detail can be a little bit hard to understand the first, second, even third time I hear it, until somebody explains it in a more simplified way. And then once I understand the more simplified concept, I can go back and understand the details. So my pharmacology class is actually building a lot on my pathophys class right now. So my pathophysiology is the one where I am learning a lot more in detail than I thought. So a lot of my pathophysiology class right now is pretty much what I learned in biochem. So when you're learning about active transport, passive transport within the cell, about chemicals going in and coming out. I didn't know that all of that would be coming back, so that I would have to learn it in detail, like how the cell produces energy, how different things can inhibit cell productivity, how the different enzymes and structures within the cell can affect a patient, or medications, how the medications can affect the cell because of those transport processes. That's the level of detail that we're learning about right now. So we had a really interesting example earlier this week that kind of opened my eyes to the difference of understanding that I had as a nurse and that I'm gonna have to have as a provider. So we were talking about cystic fibrosis patients. As a nurse, I understood the treatment plan for those types of patients because I took care of them. We're gonna have them on oxygen, oftentimes high flow. We're gonna be giving them nebulizer treatments. So that's a very basic understanding, knowing how to take care of a patient with that condition. But as a provider, they were talking about the level of detail. So the whole reason why a cystic fibrosis patient is having a lot of those symptoms is, so what happens is they no longer have that lubricant to help to clear out secretions. So this causes them to have an increase in mucus. It can be a lot thicker, a lot harder to clear out, things like that. So while I understood that on a basic level as a nurse, I didn't really understand exactly what was happening and that it was a problem with the active transport with chloride. So things like that kind of opened my eyes to the level of detail. It scares me a little bit that I didn't know that level of detail and that I'm going to be expected to know that for like every illness. But, you know, I'm going forward with an open mind, thinking that, well, you know, I have all this other knowledge. Maybe I'll just be building on it and it won't be that difficult. It'll probably be difficult, but I think that having a deeper understanding, a deeper knowledge will only enhance the way that I take care of my patients, even as I continue working as a nurse while I'm in this program. So, what study techniques am I currently using? So right now, what I am doing, it's only week 1. We've only had 4 days of lecture, but it's been so much material. For my pathophysiology class, we had 8 PowerPoints, and all of them had a presentation attached to them. Maybe there's 10, but yeah, so it's a lot of information to review, a lot of information to make sure that you are proficient at, knowledgeable, and that you can build on it going forward. So I'm not there yet. That's what I found out this week. So I, of course, watched all the PowerPoint presentations. I took notes. We have this program called Osmosis. It's a paid program that fortunately my program is paying for, so we all have access to it. It's basically a collection of medical videos that go into detail about the processes that we're talking about in class. So it's a really great supplemental resource. It has like pictures where they're drawing out the processes and the cells, and I'm a really visual learner. If I'm drawing something out or I see a picture or something that I can picture in my head, it will help to clue me into what's going on with that process and help me to remember it further. So those are the resources that we have. So what I've been doing is rewriting all of my notes. I have my objectives, which is basically what the teacher wants you to know for each specific lecture or module that we're working on. So I make sure to fill out all of the objectives with all the correct answers. And then going forward, I'm going to use that to rewrite my notes, re-listen to lectures even further, and then test myself using flashcards. So that's where I'm at with that. For my pharmacology, I'm going to rewrite my notes, re-listen to the lecture, and then make sure that I rewrite and test myself with flashcards about the key points. And then as for my other class, I'm not sure. There's not really any homework for that class, so I guess I'll just wait till next week. So what am I going to do going forward? So I guess I kind of covered that, but I'm gonna re-listen to my notes, rewrite my lectures. I'm going to highlight key points, draw things out. I actually have a whiteboard that I'm going to start to draw things out. I have a lot of whiteboard markers. So I think that drawing out a lot of the processes, especially for things like the cyclic AMP cycle, where it's a process that's happening inside of the cell, I think it'll be really helpful to draw out those different enzymes, the cell structure, things like that, just so that I can get a much deeper understanding of it and have a much better recall. Especially while I'm in especially while I'm at work. So when I'm at work, I'm probably gonna have to do my flashcards to make sure that the specific terms are solidified before I go forward to my week next week. So what am I excited about? So I'm excited about having my in-person stuff. So I enjoy actually being at home for Zoom classes, which I know will not be true for the whole 2 years that I'm in this program. So actually, I think in the fall we'll be going to our normal classes, but we're going to be doing our skills in person. So we're going to be meeting up sometime next week with a lot of our classmates in different groups, and we can actually meet some of our professors in person and help to build on our skills. I know that everything else is really important, of course, like the pathophysiology and the pharmacology are gonna play a huge role as I go forward, but really like what I love is skills-based knowledge. So that's the stuff that I think is so fun. So I love actually interacting with other people, talking with people. I love doing the examination process and helping to fill in those blanks that we're not getting when we're asking those medical questions. So I'm really excited actually to do that. So how much time is realistic to be studying outside of class? I said I was going to answer this question, so I thought maybe I would answer it later, but I think it will be helpful to know how much I'm currently studying. So right now, what my current schedule is like is I will go to class. Tuesday, I have class from like 8 to noon, and then from 1 to 3 or 4. So then after 4 o'clock, I usually take a very short break, and then I study from probably 5 o'clock to 8:30, and then I take like a 30-minute walk, and sometime in there I'll probably eat something like a snack or dinner, and then from 9 o'clock till like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, I am working on re-listening to lectures, doing my homework. I am making sure that I'm prepared for the next class and that everything that has to be done is done before the next day. So I'm basically preparing for the next day. I'm not able to review for that current day. So that goes on throughout the week. At least this week, that's how it's been. So then on Wednesday, I had class from 10 to noon. And then I also had class from 1 to 3. And then from that point on, I could do the same thing. So I would take like maybe a 30-minute break, and then I would continue studying for as long as I can, taking maybe 5-minute breaks here and there as bio breaks, or just to turn my brain off for a few minutes, just look at my phone, read a webtoon, watch a video on YouTube. But honestly, I haven't really been doing that much. So I probably could take a few more breaks. And then on Thursday, my class is same from like 8 to noon. Then I'll have from 1 to 3. And then this week we met with our upperclassmen, so people who are second years. We met with them to see if we could get like a mentor to help us with any questions we have as we go forward. So I spent a little bit of extra time this week doing that. And then afterwards, that was most of my classes for the week. So I was able to kind of recap and make sure that I was really solid, making sure all my objectives are answered, all my notes were together. And then today I had a history taking class this morning. So usually what will happen is I'll be off on Fridays. So today I'm going to be reviewing the rest of the week, making sure that I have all my studying materials together. I will do a lot of review today. And then I'm going to do a little bit of preparation so that I'm prepared for next week going forward. So I'm thinking that that's going to be my schedule pretty much every week. And then I have work, of course, on Saturday, Sunday, and then my classes start again on Monday. So Sunday night will probably be the day that I prepare for my entire week, making sure that I'm starting on my modules early, getting a lot of those videos watched, getting my reading done, and making sure that I am really knowledgeable and prepared for my classes. So these classes, they expect you to know a lot of the material even going in. So these classes are not like undergrad where they're teaching you the material starting off. They expect you to come into the classes and have a base knowledge of what you're going to be learning. And then they're just building on that knowledge. So it's very different layout from undergrad. I don't even remember nursing school being like that. So, but it is kind of nice because, you know, a lot of times when I went to my nursing school classes, I remember hearing about a specific body system, going through an hour-and-a-half lecture and coming out of it thinking, I don't remember any of that. Like, it just went way over my head. So with these, I'm taking the time ahead of time to get over that and be familiar with the material so that when I am talking with the teachers, I have much better, more informed questions, and I'm a lot more prepared to learn the material. So I do think it's better in that way, but we'll see going forward if I do end up getting more overwhelmed. But so far it's not too bad. So working while in NP school, how is it going? I will let you know next week, because this week is the first week I'm going to be working while I'm in my classes. So what my plan is I'm going to be working this weekend. Monday is actually a holiday, so I'm off of school. So I'm going to be working on Saturday, and then I'm going to be working on Monday. So I actually have an extra day on Saturday, which is amazing, to go ahead and review everything from last week and make sure I'm really, really ready for next week. So I am so glad to have that extra day of preparing. So I will let you know more about that question next week. And then I didn't write it down as a question, but I thought it was actually important, is what are you doing for self-care while you're in this program? So I haven't been doing a whole lot. As a matter of fact, I'll insert a picture right here about what I look like when I'm studying. And this is me for probably 6 hours in the afternoon. That's me for hours and hours and hours. And so I don't take a lot of breaks, but when I do, it's for my walk, which is like my favorite part of the day now. It's a 30-minute walk with my husband where I can just kind of turn off my brain from school. And I may be talking about my classes, but it's not the same as trying to cram the information in my brain. So it's just a really nice break from my classes, from studying, and then I can go back and get back into it. And then yesterday or last night, I actually decided to take a bath. So that was another form of self-care. I just turned on my lectures and then rewatched my lectures while I was taking a bath. So I wasn't completely tuned out, but it was a good way to get a little bit of self-care in while also feeling like I was being productive. But yeah, so that's my first week. I'm sure that maybe I'll continue to be as excited and happy, but I'm sure that I will get a little bit more tired. These talks will be a little bit shorter, but this week I felt like I had a decent amount of time to come and talk with you, especially since I have that extra day because of the holiday. So if there's any questions you can think of, you can go ahead and leave it in the comment below. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Hello, thank you for watching my video. If you like this video and want to see more, go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button down below. You can always leave comments and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have about what it's like to go through NP school right now, what it's like to be a nurse, and eventually what it's like to be a nurse practitioner. I'm happy to try to answer whatever questions you have. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week, and whatever you have going on in your life, you got this.